What is up, Straight Fire fam? It's me, Jason McIntyre, Straight Fire. For Monday, June the 2nd, the weekend is in the books, a new month afoot. And sadly, my Knicks are not going to be in the NBA Finals. We'll do a big Knicks postmortem. Lot of discussion. Do you blow it up? You fire the coach? Do you run it back? Get into all that fun stuff. I did want to give a quick shout out to the Dodgers. I was able to go to Dodgers Yankees Friday night. Unbelievable game. Judge homers, Otani hits two, the huge Dodgers comeback. And you could tell Friday as the Yankees are going into the bullpen, treating it like a World Series game, honestly. Making swishes all the time, and none of them worked. I think they used five pitchers Friday night, and it's like, whoa, this is a 3-game series. Yanks are in trouble, and then they get smoked 18-2 on Saturday. But we're going to make this about the NBA because my Knicks go down. I don't want to say without a fight. Listen, Saturday night, it was close in the first half. Knicks only down by 4. And then, wacky stuff happens. Miles Turner gets his fourth foul. Yes, great news. Thomas Bryant comes in and bangs 3 threes. Who had that one? Like Thomas Bryant, seldom used. Thomas Bryant comes in and hits 3 threes and was like a factor, had a block, fired up the crowd. Obi Toppin pops in 18. It's just one of those games where you're like, man, Knicks did not play poorly. I thought they shot free throws poorly. Karl-Anthony Towns 0 for 4 from 3, missed 4 free throws. We'll get into it. But ultimately, I just want to say this was a very enjoyable Knicks team. I think without question, Brunson has been the catalyst for the most interesting Knicks team we've seen in this century. Sorry, Jeremy Lin. Sorry, Carmelo Anthony. But this is a fun, great team. And they had a great run to the conference finals. You don't want to play it back in your head, but my gosh, if Aaron Nesmith doesn't erupt for 6 threes in the fourth quarter in one of the wackiest comebacks in NBA playoff history, what happens in the series? I don't know. Because then the Knicks are up 1-0. Do the Pacers get game 2? Are the Pacers deflated? Damn, we got blown out. And they were getting blown out. They were down 14 with 6 minutes left. What happens? I mean, I will maintain, and this should set things up for where I'm going to go on this pod, that the Knicks are not that far off. They are very close. And as evidence, I would like to remind guys what happened last year in the Eastern Conference playoffs. The Indiana Pacers beat the Knicks in 7. Of course, OG got hurt and Brunson got hurt. But what's really interesting is the Pacers went on to get smoked in the conference finals by Boston. I think it was a sweep. Let me quickly check. But the Eastern Conference Finals was a beatdown. Boston with the 4-game sweep. The games were close. They won by 5. They won by 3. They won by 3. But they swept the Pacers. Do you remember the reaction after the Pacers got swept? Oh, wow, this team, we're just not there. We got to make changes. I don't think Siakam's the dude. Siakam had a, shall we say, not great series shooting against the Celtics. He had shot 20% on threes. Tyrese Halliburton kind of injured and didn't play great. But it was just like, we're not there. We need to make changes. I don't think Carlisle's the right coach. And you know what the Indiana Pacers said? We're in good shape. We just need some things to break our way. And they made no changes. I'm looking at their top 8 guys from last year. All of them returned. Pretty much in the same role. Everybody was just a little better. The continuity was a little better. Turnovers were way down. Thanks to the continuity, thanks to Halliburton blowing up. This idea that the Pacers needed to make wholesale changes, they didn't. And they got back to the conference finals, and now they're going to the NBA finals for the first time since they faced the Lakers back in the day. And it's like, oh, well, now let me look at the Knicks. So the Knicks knock off the Celtics, and obviously Tatum got hurt, but he got hurt in the final game. The Knicks, they did trail by 20 a lot in that series, but they did still come out on top. And they lose this one in 6. And you could argue, hey, that game 1 historic collapse, does that change the entire tenor of the series? And you could look at the Knicks roster and say, well, why do we need to make wholesale changes? But then you open the Atlantic and you read this article, which essentially is throwing a lot of shade at 2 players in particular. And number 1 is Karl-Anthony Towns. And he is the big flashpoint here. He just got to the team last, I believe it was August or September. Okay. It takes time to build chemistry, guys. Chemistry's not built overnight. They had a season. Do you run it back? Remember, in the preseason, the thought was, oh my gosh, who's stopping the Brunson cat pick and pop game? Like, Karl-Anthony Towns, really good 3-point shooter. He claims he's the best 3-point shooter ever. And you got Brunson, who gets to the mid range, gets to the 10, gets to the foul line. That's going to be deadly. The Knicks barely tried that. This was one of the craziest stats I saw. In the Eastern Conference Finals, Brunson assisted on 5 Karl-Anthony Towns baskets. 5 in 6 games. Your 2 best players. What? What? That's crazy. That's utterly insane. And then you start drilling down a little further and you start reading in this Atlantic piece about, oh, well, a lot of individuality on this team. And Karl-Anthony Towns had to get his. And OG would have flashes of great games and then vanish. And we know Brunson's going to get his. And it kind of sort of became, hey, what happened to that Villanova unselfish mentality? Oh, well, one of those guys is not from Villanova. And that's Karl-Anthony Towns, who played at Kentucky and is like a star and a star in his head. I do wonder, can Towns change his stripes and become a slightly different player for the betterment of the team? We saw it. He had moments where he stepped up defensively. It's just not consistent. It's like Luka, right? Luka can play defense. He's not going to be a great defender, but he can be good enough. And we saw that from Towns. So Bridges is the other flashpoint in this article. It's like he didn't really get his role. Like, if Mikal Bridges is your 4th best player, you should be in the finals. I mean, Mikal Bridges is borderline all-star, probably a 3 on most teams. I mean, he's not the creator Austin Reeves is, but he's a better defender, although you wouldn't know it guarding Halliburton in a series. And just weirdly, he didn't want to like attack the rim. It was like he didn't totally know his role. And how much of this can you chalk up to, hey, man, it was year 1, a lot. I mean, 2 new starters in Bridges and Towns. That's not going to get fixed in 1 season. I think it's almost as if they have too many really good players and not enough role players. And if you look at, you guys know I like to go to Hoops Hype. They have all the salaries. It's kind of interesting that the guys who are up, their contracts, out of the Knicks bench players. So is there a world where the Knicks could tinker around the edges and all of a sudden you get role players you need, like how the Thunder have a deep bench, the Pacers have a deep bench. I saw a stat that the Knicks starters averaged 94 points per game in the regular season, which is an astronomical number, trailing 1 team. And that 1 team is Denver, who had no bench, didn't trust their bench, and wore down. So, like, do you move on from Precious Achiuwa, Cam Payne, DeLon Wright? These are guys who all played. Well, Cam Payne kind of got benched there. Landry Shamet. Can you get off PJ Tucker's short contract? Can you make moves around the edges, or do you need to make a big move? Now, I don't want to be reactionary. As a Knicks fan, this is obviously disappointing. A lot of people are going to want to run Karl-Anthony Towns out of the building. So, Rob, I'll start here. I want to take a deep breath, do a full-on analysis, and I will just say there needs to be some sort of team meeting. And I also read in that article by The Athletic that there was an abnormally large number of, I don't know if emergency team meetings is the right word, but the team they didn't understand why they kept falling behind by 20 all the time. The lack of consistency. And they kept calling these team meetings. Not everybody was on the same page. I don't want to be alarmist, but who's the leader of this team? Is it Brunson? Because he's not a very vocal guy. Is it Cat? He's been there a minute and he's kind of a space cadet. Could it be Bridges? Could it be Anunoby? I don't know. And, Josh Hart is kind of maybe the heartbeat of the team. He took some jabs at Tibbs this season. So a lot of questions, not a lot of answers in the wake of the loss. But Rob, is it okay to take a deep breath and be like, hey, I don't want to run Tibbs out of town? That might happen, but I need to take a deep breath and be like, how did this happen?
Yeah, I don't think that that's wrong at all. But the important thing is to note that you do have to look at yourself in the mirror when things go the way they did. To your point, I mean, if you want to look at the glass half full, yes, this is the greatest Knicks team in 25 years. They make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They roll through the defending champion Boston Celtics. Obviously, there's some asterisk there with Jason Tatum, but you can say that, right? You can say, as you mentioned, Karl-Anthony Towns arrives a week before training camp starts, and you're kind of thrown together. That's the positive outlook of it. The negative is from January 1 until the end of the season, the Knicks starters, which they are a very top heavy team, were outscored by 1.4 points per 100 possessions. In the postseason, that group was a minus 33 overall heading into game 6, where obviously they got blown out again in game 6. And the issue that they're running into is something I think you pointed out. They have too many guys who are too good for their roles. Mikal Bridges is too good to be a fourth option. OG Anunoby is too good to be a third or fourth option. They are both more than capable of having things run through them, as we saw when Jalen Brunson got hurt towards the end of the season. When Brunson went down, it allowed Towns to step up. It allowed Mikal to get back to doing some of the things that he did in Brooklyn. I know Brooklyn wasn't very good, but it shows that he's capable of doing more. When you are in a situation where your best players, in which case there's 4 of them, on discount Josh Hart, are all asked, save for Jalen Brunson, to take a step back with the way they operate for the team to succeed, that can get really tricky really quickly. All right. And case in point, when you look at the Towns Brunson pairing in the playoffs, okay, when Jalen Brunson is on and Karl-Anthony Towns is off, they're plus 4.4. When Towns is on and Brunson is off, they're plus 11.
That didn't make sense. I didn't get that.
And I'm not saying that Jalen Brunson is not a good player. I'm not going full Becky Hammond and saying you can't win with him as your best player. What I am saying, though, is he needs to adjust the way he plays, especially in the playoffs, if this team is going to take the next step. If you look at the usage rate for this playoffs, Jalen Brunson was 32.5. The next closest guy was Karl Towns at 25. Mikal Bridges was 19. OG was 18. To put into context that usage rate situation, amongst active players, here's what we're looking at. Luka, which is at 36 in his career in the playoffs, which is crazy. And I think we've talked about this. As good as he is, he's going to have to make some adjustments if he's going to end up winning a championship. Donovan Mitchell has never made it past the second round. Russell Westbrook's a historical playoff flameout. Giannis at 32. So right there where Brunson is. But Giannis, I think we can all agree, is a much better player. Guys with lower usage rates than Brunson, 32. LeBron James, 31. Kevin Durant, 30. Devin Booker, 30. Nikola Jokic, 30. So Jalen Brunson, and I like Jalen Brunson. Short Kings unite. I love Jalen Brunson. The fact is, if you are going to be that ball dominant, the chances of you winning are very slim unless you are a 7-foot freak like Giannis or arguably the greatest all time in LeBron James.
Well, the counter would be, hey, Luka was a great point guard, struggled to get out of the first round largely. And then Dallas got him 2 rim running bigs, Lively and Gafford. And wouldn't you know it, they're catching lobs left and right. And defensively, they're making up for Luka. However, with the Knicks, when Brunson's your point guard and Cat's on the court, you don't have a rim protector. Cat ain't no rim protector. That's just not happening. So they tried the Mitchell Robinson thing. Mitchell Robinson, great. But you know what? Hey, we don't need to really defend him at all. And we'll just foul him since he can't make any free throws. And then the Knicks were scared to play Mitchell Robinson. Remember, he would literally cross half court and they would just foul him and be like, all right, well, we're putting you on the line. And, the one name that's interesting here, Rob, is Josh Hart. And I like him a lot. He does so many good things. But when you can't shoot, they can then hide their worst defender, sometimes a center, on you. Or you just keep your center kind of near the paint and he's your rim protector. We saw Chet Holmgren do that against the Wolves. They would just basically put Chet Holmgren on Mike Conley, And it's like, well, Mike Conley's not going to kill us from deep. We'll just have Chet hang around the rim. And when Anthony Edwards drives, hello. So you got by the first wave, and here's Chet. And it's like, the Knicks kind of sort of struggled. I mean, the Pacers shot like 50, I think it was 54% on twos in the series. And then they erupt from threes in a couple games. And I think you can win a title with Brunson as your best player. Dude, they just won 50 games.
Sure.
Last year, second round. This year, conference finals. Like, they're right there. And let's remember,
but
next
to your point,
year,
I think they need more role players. If that's what we're going to do.
So Josh Hart's a role player, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he could shoot threes, he would be a slightly better role player.
Absolutely.
But like you saw the Pacers, they basically ran it all back. Their role players can shoot. Mm-hmm. Nesmith, Nembhard. Nembhard didn't have a good series. The kid Ben Shepherd, he could shoot coming off the bench.
Turner can shoot.
A guy, Turner could shoot. Thomas Bryant can shoot, and the Pacers lit it up from three. Now OKC is the other one because their role players are really, really good defenders. I do think, and we'll get to previewing the finals later in the week. I do think the Thunders are going to have some problems here because Indiana shoots the three way better than Minnesota did. Mm-hmm. It's not even close. And, you give all those wide open threes to McDaniels, Randall, Conley. Now it's going to the Pacers and their guys bombs away. So I think that's going to be a good series, but it's so much easier said than done, Rob. Hey, let me look at the free agents and let's just pluck the best 3-and-D guys, which is what you want. But
sure.
I guess if you're asking me who would I rank moving off of, listen, if you can get Giannis for Cat and Hart and whatever picks, sure. I just don't think that's legend.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So if you're going to move off Towns, what do you like? Honestly, Miles Turner would be freaking great. Now he commits a lot of he was in foul trouble all series, but he's a really good 3-point shooter, rim protector. Like the Celtics, they don't have one, right? Horford and Porzingis, well, they're not blocking anything. OKC does have Chet, Hartenstein left to a lesser extent. Minnesota's rim protector, Rudy Gobert, was played off the floor largely against OKC, and then they had no rim protector. So, like, who does have a rim protector who shoots threes? Like, those guys are almost unicorns. And roster construction is just going to be so pivotal this summer. It feels like the audience is getting smarter when it comes to this stuff because it's not as easy as, boy, the Knicks could use Rudy Gobert. Like, that wouldn't work. Rudy and Cat, we already saw those two together, Like, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen were a great tandem in the regular season. And then in the playoffs, they missed their threes, and that team was easier to defend. So it's like, I don't know, man. If you're asking me today, June 2nd, Jay, what's your move? I would go Michael Malone over Tibbs, keep the starting 5, 6, top 6 guys stay, and then around the edges, make some moves and get role players who are going to contribute come playoffs.
Well, I think ultimately they're going to run it back. And even in the Athletic piece that you referenced to open up the pod, later on in there, they kind of bury that, Tibbs is unlikely to get fired, because he has a good relationship with Leon Rose. Obviously the Dolan factor always has to be considered, but the expectation is that Tibbs will be back. And to your point, I think that they have there's a reason why before the season, you and I both picked the Knicks to make the finals and to win the championship, because we like their 5. We like that theoretically how they all fit together. I think what it ultimately comes down to is if you are going to roll with these 5, you need to have Brunson take a little bit of a step back so the other guys can step up, because there's no good reason why you should be paying OG Anunoby, what is this, entering next season, $40 million to have a usage rate of 18. Mikal Bridges is going to get an extension, assuming they don't trade him this upcoming offseason. He's going to be paid in the, we'll say 35 to 40. So you can't have those two guys making a combined $75-80 million to be glorified role players. They have to be more involved in the offense moving forward. And if that's not what you want to do, if you say, you know what, Jalen Brunson is the heartbeat of our team, he's our leader, he's our captain, he has brought us back to relevance in a way that we haven't seen since Patrick Ewing. If that's what you're going to do, then the logical step is to try to flip Towns, try to flip Anunoby. You're probably not going to get the back what you gave up to get Bridges, the 5 first-round picks, but you need guys who are then going to fill those roles as nothing but 3-and-D. That's all you're going to do because
So
Brunson's going to orchestrate the offense.
so
And
did you
Mikal Bridges' defense taking a step back. OG Anunoby is a very good player, but I wouldn't call him a specialist in either one of those categories.
yeah. So did you say that OG's making 40?
He's making 39
So
next
he's their
season.
third best player, right?
Yes.
Okay. Miles Turner, Andrew Nemhard, and Obi Toppin are combined to make 35.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Matherin, I don't who's the Pacers' third best player? Halliburton and Siakam clearly are top two. If it's Turner, he's a free agent, but like Obi Toppin's at 12.9, Neesmith 11 million. I mean, Neesmith is like, that's what you want, right? A starter who can play defense, bang threes, and is making 11 million a year. Do you know how hard those are to find? The Celtics had
Yeah.
Neesmith, by the way. And like TJ McConnell is at 9 million. He is so valuable off the bench. He's better than any Knicks player coming off the bench. Ben Matherin, first round pick, 7 million. I mean, they're just bizarre. Like, it feels just unicornish how they're built. But then you look at the Thunder and you're like, damn, they've got a lot of good players who are not making a lot of money. So now that you drill down like that and mention OGs at 40, can you win a title when your third best player is making 40 mil? I mean, Austin Reeves is making what, like 15?
Well, see, I think you can, but you have to use him like a $40 million player. That's the like again, it's like a chicken or the egg type thing. Because I absolutely think OG Anunoby is good enough to warrant the contract. Especially with the way things are getting paid now. Like he's making, what Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram money, Michael Porter Jr. money. So he can absolutely be that guy. The problem though is if you're only going to use him in a 3-and-D role, would you rather have OG Anunoby at 40, or would you rather have Rui Hachimura at 17? You know what I mean? Would
Well,
you
that's
rather have
interesting.
OG Anunoby at 40, or would you rather have Keldon Johnson at 19? Would you rather have Karis LeVert at 16? Like, they're obviously OG's a better player than all of those guys. But if they're only going to use him in that limited way, then I'd rather pay a limited salary.
Yeah. So you said Brunson take a step back, and how would you quantify that? Just less usage, because
Yeah.
he was brilliant in Game 5. Now you could argue, hey, the Pacers were going on the road; they weren't going to. He was heavily ball dominant. Even in games 3 and 4, he went to the line 10 times, 12 times. In Game 5, or I'm sorry, Game 6, 2 free throw attempts, Rob. That's it. OG Anunoby took as many shots as Brunson. Cat took 19. I mean, that sounds like Brunson may have taken a step back, or he just got that ball out of his hands a lot because the Pacers were pressuring the hell out of him. But like, I don't. That's where it gets difficult with Brunson. Like Steve Nash, did he need to take a step back, or was he like such a great distributor that he didn't?
But the thing
I
is,
don't know
those Suns teams, for example, those Suns teams, they didn't have anybody else who could create. The difference is New York has guys who can. Like Mikal did it in Brooklyn. They just weren't any good. OG did it in Toronto. They just weren't any good. But I'm not asking you to lead the team in that regard. I'm saying, hey, for 10 to 15 minutes a night, can we run 7 minutes through Mikal? Can we run 6 minutes through OG? Can we run shit through Towns? Say, hey, Cat, we're going to run the offense through you either on the low block or the high post and just kind of see what happens. And they just don't do that. And I know usage rate is not the be all end all, but to put it into context, Tyrese Halliburton averages double-digit assists with a usage rate of 22 because he makes quick decisions. He gets the ball. Either he does something with it or he moves it on quickly. Jalen Brunson is going to dribble the hell out of that thing. And he's going to pick and roll and wait to get somebody off him and, see what he can do to attack. And it's a very effective way of playing. The problem is it mutes kind of everybody else around you.
So I wonder if this becomes a Brunson issue. I think Towns is going to be the guy. I personally don't think. I mean, we got to see. My guess is, Rob, this week we hear a lot of Milwaukee Bucks Giannis talk because, no disrespect to the Pacers or Thunder, but where Giannis could land is infinitely more interesting than this matchup. I will just preface it. I'm on some NBA text chains with buddies, and I do believe that the Pacers are live to win this series. I know you said, you gave me a stat like they're the 5th highest favorite since like 1970 or something.
Since 1968, 5th highest odds. Yeah.
5th highest odds. But we'll get into it. But I'm just some of the notes that I jotted down while watching, Rob. The course, my kid said, okay, here we go. So OKC wants to run. Well, so does Indiana, right? So that's not going to be an issue. Minnesota did not want to run. OKC is a good 3-point shooting team. Indiana has been great in the playoffs. I keep waiting for them to fall off. They're not. So this whole like, hey, we'll just keep Halliburton out of the paint. That's not going to work against Indiana. They have too many good 3-point shooters. Usually OKC's depth, we know it killed Denver, and Minnesota didn't have depth either. The Pacers, I think, are the deepest team in the East. You could argue deepest team in the league. So again, not an edge for OKC. And the other thing is OKC kept turning over Minnesota. Minnesota's sloppy with the ball, 15, 20 turnovers. There's just no room for error. Tyrese Halliburton, I believe, let me see if he had any turnovers. Oh, he had 4 turnovers in game 6. Wow. He had 5 turnovers through the first 5 games. Indiana does not turn the ball over. So it's like if OKC's defense thrives on turnovers and Indy's not turning it over, I mean, something's got to give. Either OKC's defense takes a step back or Indy turns the ball over. I don't know, Rob. We'll take our time. Do you give Indiana any shot here?
Absolutely. I mean, when you have the number 2 ranked offense period in the season and the way they've been playing, fun fact, they've actually lost less games in these playoffs than OKC has. Or I think it's the same. It's 4 for OKC and it's
3.
No, it's 4 for Indiana. They lost 1, 1, and 2. And you would never think that by the way the conversation is around these two teams. Now, I will say, historically, this is a different sport, but the last time we saw the best offense and the best defense play each other for all the marbles, I believe it was the Seahawks and the Broncos in the Super Bowl, and that did not go very well for Denver. So, the defense usually wins out in those situations, but no, I mean, if the ratings are going to be terrible, but the basketball is going to be great, I feel
basketball should be good. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see.
All right. We are back tomorrow. Some NBA. We'll get, obviously, OTAs are ramping up in the NFL. We're on Caitlin Clark watch. There's chatter she may return this week. Nobody's talked about the fever since she went down. Obviously, we're around graduation time, whether it's college, high school, 8th grade, although I'm told 8th grade is called promotion out here in California. I was unaware of that term. But summer is upon us. Should be a great summer. I think this is a good NBA draft. It's gonna be a good one. Back tomorrow.